Hello everyone, and thank you so much for tuning in to ChasingCinema.com's official YouTube channel. Yes, I'm here to review X-Men Apocalypse. And most of you are saying, wait, Jake, what are you doing right now? First of all, you're 17 days early and James Shue is not with you and you're not at the amazing AMC Town Square. Well, I got to see this film quite early and I want to get a review out, but it won't be as long as me and Mr. Shue's usual reviews. And don't worry, when the movie does come out on May 27th, me and him are going to sit and probably do a much longer version of a review. However, I wanted to get some things out and just do a very concise review, which is so unlike the things that me and Mr. James Shue does. But let's hop right into it. So X-Men Apocalypse, a movie that so many people are really pumped about, coming off of X-Men Days of Future Past. Bryan Singer brings back the X-Men, starring James McAvoy, Jennifer Lawrence, Michael Fassbender, Oscar Isaac as Apocalypse, and, you know, the rest of the gang. Okay. This review is probably going to be a little bit all over there, but I'll do my best. And as far as spoilers, I'm not going to really get into any at all, besides things you would have seen in the trailer, which means I don't think there's any spoilers at all. However, so if you haven't watched the trailers or you don't want to watch the trailers, pause me right this second or fast forward 2 seconds. I'm going to talk about Wolverine. We all know he's in there because he's in the lab. First of all, it's been announced all over the internet. And his hand is seen in one of the final trailers. So besides that, I don't think I'm going to be getting much into any spoilers. But moving forward, a non-spoiler review here. Okay, X-Men Apocalypse was a decent film. Right off the bat, I could say that it did not reach the heights or give me the excitement that I had hoped walking into this movie. I was really hoping for a really exciting, fun X-Men movie. I've actually been a fan of the last two X-Men films. My favorite still remains to be X-Men First Class, and I think Days of Future Past was good. Like I didn't love it, but I thought there were some good things about it. And this movie, I would probably say, is on the same playing field as Days of Future Past, but in all honesty, probably a little bit lower. Like if I put the new X-Men movies in order, it would go the exact order that it's in. I think one of the major issues that this film has is its storytelling, and the fact that this whole movie is 80% build-up, 20% climax, and not really much satisfaction. Like, you know, this whole movie spends so much time building up Apocalypse and what he's doing and his plan to destroy the world and rebuild with mutants, that when everything kind of goes down towards the end of the film, it just doesn't feel like a victory, right? Like it doesn't feel like we've really done something powerful here. Okay, let's try to break down like this. My major issue for the film comes at the beginning of the movie. The first 30 minutes to 45 minutes really had trouble getting into the movie at this point because the movie takes its time to introduce characters. Like like that first chunk of time, the movie's about 2 hours and 16 minutes. And it takes the first half, no, that's a little bit too much, about 45 minutes, like I said, introducing characters. And it doesn't feel like a steady flow of a story. It feels like a clip here, clip here, clip here, clip here. And each clip is introducing new characters, introducing Nightcrawler, who is really cool to watch in this movie. You know, I mean, I'm not a huge X-Men fanboy. I'm not going to go crazy just because Nightcrawler's in this movie. Like, you know, I think that's one of the issues I kind of have when I'm talking about movie review or like talking about comic movies. Like, just because a character's in there or a name reference doesn't make me like it. You know, the character has to be interesting. The character has to be entertaining. I think Nightcrawler was fine. You know, I didn't think he was the most amazing thing, but I thought he was entertaining. You know, he has a really cool superpower. We're introduced to Cyclops himself, you know, whereas he's developing his powers. We're introduced to Storm and Angel, and, you know, it feels like we're going through this repetitive introduction phase, right? Like Bryan Singer is setting up the new X-Men classes, and that to me really kind of started things off bumpy. Like I always use the double Dutch scenario where, like, you know, you're just waiting to kind of hop in so you kind of get the groove, but you can't hop in unless you know the motions or the rhythm. And that's how I felt watching this movie. Like the first 45 minutes, I couldn't get myself to hop in and be invested in what was going on. Then we come to Michael Fassbender, who I, after seeing this film, can say that he really is everything in this movie, right? As Magneto and as, just Eric himself, like everything that he goes through, every emotion, like this character is so tormented and has gone through so much that his moments in the film really just show you that he's definitely like the heartbeat of this movie. I think the franchise really relies on the chemistry between James McAvoy and Michael Fassbender, Professor X and Magneto. It really kind of depends on Charles and Eric and their differences and their different philosophies and how they see the world differently. And just like how Eric will go towards rage, where Charles has learned that he has to kind of think and try to resolve. They're these two totally different philosophies and mentalities clashing. And I think that remains true here in X-Men Apocalypse. But he can only do so much, right? Like Michael Fassbender could only be in it so much. But what he is in, and like the seeing the events after X-Men Days of Future Past, and seeing where he is now, like, it is like probably one of my favorite parts about the movie is seeing where he is now in his life. But Apocalypse, Oscar Isaac, one of the hottest working actors right now in the terms of just being in everything and really expanding. He's in Star Wars, he's doing this, he's doing that. I mean, everyone's really enjoying Oscar Isaac, and I'm among those people. This movie, he didn't have much to do in Apocalypse, right? Like, I don't think that they gave him... Apocalypse didn't call for much. And, Oscar Isaac did a fair job doing it, but like I said, with not giving him much to do, it's hard to give a really spectacular performance, especially with all that Ivan Ooze makeup on. Apocalypse makeup on. I know, I really wanted to throw that in, because I really like watching and looking at him. He reminds me of Ivan Ooze from the Mighty Morphin Power Rangers movie, but like I've seen so many people have already like used that joke. So anyway, moving on. I think that there's a really great scene in the film that has to do with Charles talking to Eric via Cerebro and their communications, and Magneto is aware that Charles is trying to get into his head, and they have this really great moment of talking and kind of like again clashing those philosophies. But I just think that this movie falls into the category of feeling repetitive. Like, it feels like we've kind of done this already. And we've had these like X-Men feels like it's kind of gone into this pattern where all the movies are introducing these characters and, oh, look at this character, look at that character, oh, isn't this character cool, oh, big fight scene, big 45-minute fight sequence. And this movie just felt repetitive. Like, it felt like a pattern, First Class, I still think, is the best. Days of Future Past has that big climactic thing at the very end, after it's introducing so many of all these characters from before and after. And it kind of feels the same here, and it's just like, all right. And I would expect more from the ending, and I think that's where kind of it all comes down to. It's just, it doesn't feel that this journey was worth it. It's so much setup, and it's so much explaining, like, okay, this is what Apocalypse is doing, this is his plan, this is his 4 horsemen, this is what he wants to do to the world, this is how we're gonna stop, and then we would just get there. It's just like, okay. I mean, don't get me wrong, the action in the last sequence is quite entertaining, right? Like, there's this really great moment, again, no spoilers, so spoiler alert, fast forward 15 seconds. There's this great moment, like this really simple moment where a character does something so cheesy with tools to make a giant X, and it's like, whoa, yeah! Like, you kind of get that pumped excitement. But that's something that I think the X-Men films lack. Batman vs. Okay, and I don't want to really get into this because everyone's hating the fact that all these movies are being compared, Civil War, Batman vs. Superman, but I just have to make this comment. Batman vs. Superman felt very dramatic, very heavy. It didn't have that fun, exciting element that Civil War did have. Civil War is a fun movie. You'll be smiling. X-Men isn't like Batman vs. Superman in the sense that it's so offbeat. But it's just like, X-Men is a very serious movie. Like, it takes itself very seriously. And I think I just needed a little bit more time to breathe in some of these moments. Like, every scene is so heavy and so, oh, this character has been tormented and this character has faced this adversity. And I get that's what the X-Men is about. The X-Men is about characters, you know, in adversity, but it just feels sometimes so, it just, like I said, it feels like you're beating a dead horse to a degree. But I didn't dislike this movie, but I definitely didn't love it. I kind of fell in the middle of the spectrum. Reading some of the reviews are out now, or watching my good friend, Vegas film critic on YouTube, Jeffrey K. Howard, did a review of this movie, and it's hilarious. I'd recommend go checking it out. I know I usually don't recommend other critics, but go to the description box, you'll click his link. It is hilarious, but he did not like this movie at all. And his review is hilarious. People give him a lot of crap. Oh, that's another thing, guys. Disney doesn't pay us. Someone sent me this petition yesterday that Disney is paying us too much to like Marvel movies, to like, Marvel Studios movies and Disney movies. That's not true. Like, if you have to have such a confused mindset about how being a critic works if you think that's it. I don't attack X-Men because I like Marvel more, and I don't like Marvel more. I am a diehard Batman fan. Any of my work would say that, and I wasn't kind to that movie because it wasn't good, right? And because a movie is different than a comic isn't a good reason to judge a movie either. Like, that's another thing that kind of bothers me, but I don't want to get off topic here. But just know, like, no one's putting money in my pocket to say X-Men wasn't that great of a movie. And if you don't agree with me, that's okay either. It's no reason to attack me because I have a different opinion than you may think, because chances are you haven't even seen the movie. Like, a lot of people were attacking my good friend Mr. Howard, and they haven't even seen the movie yet. So that's just foolish. Don't do that. Don't be like that. Be smarter than that. I think that one thing is really cool about the X-Men movies is that Wolverine, as I said, is in this movie. That's right. That even though we've seen him countless times in all of these films, and even know that he's in there, that Bryan Singer can still reveal Wolverine like this element of surprise. When we actually see Wolverine in his moment, which I think is a really, really effective moment, it talks a lot about him and his character. It's just really interesting for like them to be like, oh, I don't want to describe the setting because I don't want to spoil it, but like once we reveal it, it's just like, we take that slow look up and we reveal Wolverine. And it's like we've seen him 100 times. We know who it is, but it still works because it's such an effective character, especially with the performance of Hugh Jackman behind it. And I think that was really cool. I guess my problem lies here, right? And like I said, I don't want to go too long. Me and Mr. Shu are going to go through everything. It's just that the movie, again, feels repetitive, and it doesn't feel like the payoff is worth it. It feels like a long journey to get to somewhere that doesn't feel too spectacular. It's kind of a setup movie, and a lot of the X-Men movies are setup movies. This movie is setting up Charles Xavier's new class of X-Men. That's what it is. And that's fine, but it feels like a setup movie. And that's the problem. Like, that's where the issue lies. But I said, the action is good. Quicksilver, everyone loved Quicksilver's segment in Days of Future Past, including myself. They just kind of copy that in this movie, which is fine. Like, I think the sequence is still really cool, but it's like, all right, I get it. And it's a bit long. Like, this one's a bit long, and, like, being repetitive, you're like, okay, I kind of know where this is going. So I would have rather them try to make a more creative way to bring it out. Jeffrey brings this up in his review. You could, again, in the description box. Could have thought a more creative way to do something with him, right? And then there's, like, a point in the movie where some of the effects get, like, real, like, not great. Like, at the end, Psylocke and Angel and all of them are kind of fighting, and and Nightcrawler, and it's so cheesy. Like, the effects look really poor. Like, it's kind of like all the effects have been so good, but then right in this moment, it's like where they ran out of money. That's what it feels like, and I'm sure they didn't run out of money, but for some reason it just looks so cheesy, and you're just like, and to be honest, I didn't really care for Psylocke. Like, that character is cheesy. Like, everything that she does is kind of tacky. It feels real, like, dress up. That was a really off-putting character for me. I think Cyclops is good. I think Jean Grey has a lot of potential. The new Jean Grey can be very entertaining. I think that her moments with James McAvoy as Charles Xavier were really good. There's a really, really good moment towards the end of the film. Rose Byrne, who has her memories erased in First Class, and now she is reuniting with Charles to address Apocalypse, and you know, their moments that they kind of share are really interesting. But again, like, all these cool moments don't make up for this whole entire feeling of missing that really strong satisfaction, that really strong connection to everything that's going on. It just feels like a gathering of the X-Men to take on this. It just feels repetitive, and I know I'm starting to sound repetitive because I'm saying the same thing so many times. But to me, it was just a movie that felt like a setup. We were going through the motions instead of really trying to do something different. And to me, that's where the problem with this movie lies. Again, I didn't hate it. I know I'm talking about a lot of the bad stuff, but like I said, some of the characters, some of the action sequences were great. Jennifer Lawrence, one of my favorite actresses working today, doesn't have much to do, and when she is on screen, it doesn't, I mean, she doesn't have much to do when she is on screen, and there's just not much for her. This movie, the star of this movie, of course, is Magneto, Michael Fassbender, who has been the star of the last two films, as well as James McAvoy. Their relationship, but even that is repetitive. I really love these clash of philosophies, but we keep having these kind of repetitive moments between them too often. The philosophy of Eric and Charles, I love it, but at the same time, it's like, yeah, I've kind of been here before. But I feel like X-Men has been able to do that for years, and it just doesn't translate well in this movie. Maybe that's only like, to me, that didn't bother me very much, but just saying it, you know, it's a repetitive theme in this series. But that wasn't so much as bothersome as just the formula of the movie and the style of the movie. And again, that first 45 minutes of introducing characters that doesn't have this natural flow of progression, it just feels like clips put together. It makes the start really rocky. But overall, like, I'd recommend this movie. If you're an X-Men fan, go see this movie. If you love the first two X-Men and you just love X-Men in general, chances are you're going to love this movie. If you were iffy about the last movies or haven't been too impressed, I'm not sure this is going to be the one that wins you over. But anyway, that's going to be my review for X-Men Apocalypse as of right now. I will be doing a review, again, full of spoilers, full of details, probably a much longer review of my good friend Mr. James Shue. Let me know how you feel. If you have any questions about X-Men or my opinions or anything, let me know down here in the comment sections. But don't be rude. Don't be a jerk. Don't tell me Disney pays me or I'm an idiot. I mean, if you're going to, go ahead, but it's not going to bother me. So, you know, try to have an intelligent conversation with me. Let's have a conversation. Let's have a debate about film, right? Like, let's try to make this an interesting conversation. If you enjoyed this review, slap a like on it. If you didn't agree with me, but you thought I was a good reviewer, still slap a like on me. Just because you don't agree with me doesn't mean you should dislike my videos. It's kind of a trend right now going on YouTube. Just because someone doesn't like something doesn't mean you have to necessarily dislike them or shun them. You know, it's okay to disagree, guys. We all don't have to be sheep. We all don't have to agree, right? Anyway, if you don't want to miss any of my videos, make sure to hit that subscribe button. This past week, did Race for the Cure here in Las Vegas. Check out that video in the white eye above me. You can also see my review for Captain America Civil War, as well as my Week 18 update for my 365-day movie challenge. Ladies and gentlemen, my name is Jacob Tiranno, and please continue chasing cinema.